June 5, 1944, the night before D-Day. Thousands of men float through the dark skies of Normandy, but what should have been the Airborne's finest hour became a masterclass in chaos. Before dawn, 13,000 American paratroopers vanished into the night, not to enemy fire, but to the sky itself. This is the story of how a single night, meant to change the course of World War II, nearly destroyed the very idea of airborne warfare. It's a story written in confusion, courage, and cold calculation, where physics and fate decided who lived, who died, and what lessons would shape the future of every soldier who ever jumped from a plane. On paper, it was beautiful. The 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions would drop behind German lines before the beach landings, securing bridges and roads for the advancing troops. Each unit would land together, rally within minutes, and strike like a precision machine. In reality, by sunrise, commanders had lost contact with nearly 75% of their men. Paratroopers scattered across 50 square miles of French farmland, some landing 15 miles from where they were supposed to be. Private John Steele, famously tangled on the church steeple in Sainte-Mère-Église, wasn't unlucky. He was typical. The math behind the disaster was merciless. Planes flew at 1,500 feet, 150 miles per hour, dropping men every 12 seconds. Add strong winds, anti-aircraft fire, and clouds obscuring landmarks, and you've got organized chaos. Lieutenant Richard Winters of Easy Company jumped with 140 men. By sunrise, he'd found just 11. 92% of his unit gone before even seeing an enemy. But chaos has a strange way of rewriting destiny. Those scattered groups, 3 men here, 5 there, began striking targets at random. German convoys, communications lines, supply routes. The enemy couldn't tell where the Americans were attacking from, because they were everywhere. What military planners called a disaster, the Germans experienced as a nightmare. When the dust settled, commanders knew the plan had failed, but the mission had somehow succeeded. The question was why. The answer lay in physics. At 2,500 feet, a paratrooper took 6 seconds before he could even control his descent. A 15-mile-per-hour crosswind could drag him nearly 2,000 feet sideways. Drop lower, say 600 feet, and you hit the ground faster, drift less. But you also remove any margin for error. Your parachute had maybe 4 seconds to open. If it didn't, your reserve was useless. At 600 feet, you didn't get second chances. Every foot of altitude became a negotiation between dispersion and death. The Americans learned that lesson the hard way. In Sicily, 1943, Operation Husky was supposed to prove the worth of airborne troops. Instead, it nearly ended them forever. Inexperienced pilots scattered the 505th Parachute Regiment across the island. Men landed miles apart, blown off course by 35-mile-an-hour winds. Colonel James Gavin, the regiment's commander, hit the ground with only 1 other paratrooper. It took him 6 hours to gather 45 men out of 3,400. Then came the second wave. American and British ships, jittery from German air raids, opened fire on their own planes. 23 C-47s shot down. 81 paratroopers killed by friendly guns. Hundreds wounded. Even General Patton considered disbanding the airborne divisions altogether. But Gavin didn't give up. He turned that horror into innovation. Gavin's after-action report was brutal. 47 pages of hard truth. But buried inside was a revolutionary idea. Drop lower. Drop tighter. Drop together. He calculated that every extra 100 feet of altitude multiplied the dispersion. His solution? 600 feet. Compress the interval between jumpers from 12 seconds to 3. It sounded suicidal. And for pilots, it nearly was. But at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the tests worked. Tighter formations, closer spacing, and for the first time, paratroopers landed as cohesive fighting units. By the time the Allies prepared for D-Day, airborne warfare had been reborn, The results spoke for themselves. During Operation Market Garden in 1944, American units dropping at 600–700 feet landed within minutes, assembled, and attacked with overwhelming precision. The British, jumping higher and farther from their targets, struggled for hours to regroup, a delay that cost them the bridge at Arnhem. The lesson was undeniable. Altitude equals dispersion. Dispersion equals vulnerability. Concentration equals victory, but there was always a price. Every low-altitude jump compressed the danger. Parachute malfunctions, broken legs, mid-air collisions, men dangling from trees or hitting the ground too hard. A single mistake in those 18 seconds between door and dirt could mean instant death. Yet they kept jumping because the mission mattered more than safety. March 24, 1945. Operation Varsity, the last great airborne assault of the war. This time, 16,000 Allied paratroopers dropped across the Rhine in daylight, at just 600 feet. Entire regiments hit the ground within minutes, moving like clockwork. The Germans barely had time to aim before the sky rained soldiers. Yes, the flak was brutal. Planes went down, men burned alive, but those who survived landed together, fought together, and won together. By nightfall, every objective was secured. The Rhine was crossed, and the doctrine, born from chaos over Normandy, was finally proven right. Today, modern paratroopers still jump from 800 to 1,200 feet. Their gear is better, their planes are faster, but the rule remains unchanged. Low enough to land together, high enough that the chute still opens. Each jump still begins with the same ritual. Stand up, hook up, check equipment, sound off. And when the green light flashes, they step into history. Because in those few seconds of free fall, between sky and earth, every paratrooper carries the weight of all who jumped before them, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and praying to see that canopy bloom above. This wasn't just the story of a battle. It was the story of human adaptation, how chaos became doctrine, and how courage fell from the sky, one parachute at a time.